Okay, Beak.
I'm just glad we're still alive.
Sometimes video games confuse the hell out of me. How is it that a game as full of diverse objectives and activities as something like Assassin's Creed Black Flag could bore me after several honest attempts to love it? And conversely, how is it that a largely incomplete game in a genre that hasn't seen mainstream success in years could entrance me so deeply? Ever since playing a very early preview build of Armikrog, these are the questions that have been plaguing my thoughts. What is it about this little claymation-based point-and-click adventure that can make me feel excitement and intrigue more successfully than a multi-million-dollar project in a beloved series of games? Well, in spite of the placeholder visuals, temporary voice acting, lack of music or ambient audio, and the incomplete nature of the whole project, Armikrog is already a game with heart. What it lacks in AAA polish, it makes up for in spades with weird understated humor, head-scratching puzzles, environmental atmosphere, and a wealth of character. As I wandered the world of Armikrog, I felt the alienness of it all. Nothing was labeled or explained. I wasn't sure where the world I was going to explore began or ended. Nothing was telling me where to go or what my role was in all of this. I simply was allowed to feel out the world as I saw fit, until I began to piece together the earliest elements of the first puzzles. And this hands-off approach is something that I often long for in more curated gaming experiences. To harken back to the Assassin's Creed example, sure, the opening of Black Flag gives you background on who you are in the world and it leaves you with context for your adventure. But imagine for a moment if you were simply tossed into the deep end with no text, no cutscenes, no dialogue. The impression the world had on you would be entirely different. You wouldn't be fed any preformed ideas about what this place is or why you inhabit it. As it exists, being fed so much expository information right off the bat is like opening The Hobbit to find a list of all the characters with illustrations of what they definitively look like. You would never have the chance to allow your imagination to get creative with the diegetic universe you're engaging. It's almost as if the measures taken to ensure that the player gets the intended experience is actually preventing the player from finding their own unique subjective experience, which in my opinion is much more important. Because puzzles are such a central element to any point-and-click adventure, I must also make note here of the strength of the puzzles in this early section of the game. One involved entering a passcode of sorts with no text to nudge you in any direction. The solution, spoiler alert, comes through a few sections of the game where Beak, your talking alien dog companion, must venture off on his own, giving you access to a black and white dog vision of sorts that can reveal hidden clues. And better yet, I never even found all 3 necessary clues. After finding the first 2, I tried every possible candidate for the 3rd clue until the door just popped open. Hell, I don't even know if there is a 3rd clue hidden somewhere, and the fact that I may never know excites me. There's an element of mystery in the absence of concrete explanation that makes this feel less like a linear tour of puzzles stitched together with narrative, and more like an indifferent world filled with obstacles through which I'm progressing. Absorption at this level is incredibly important to me in any game experience. As soon as I begin to lose that trance of novelty that comes from being lost in a game's world, my mind begins to dissect the mechanics of the gameplay to a degree that I'm no longer entranced. At this point, quests, missions, and objectives simply become chores instead of fun activities. It doesn't matter if your world is littered with 9,000 procedurally generated side quests if I don't care about my role in them or the world that they impact. Armikrog may not even be a complete game, but I know for a fact that I'll be playing it upon release because it's a game with heart and real creative force behind it. Because the game is incomplete and therefore so reliant on these characters in this world to carry it, there's a figured ground shift in my typical approach to games. My relentlessly analytical mind was no longer looking to game the system or figure out the mechanism behind the curtain as it so frequently does with other games. Instead, I was simply immersed and invested. And that's why we love games in the first place, isn't it? Not because they force-feed us excitement, but because they create a medium through which we can find it for ourselves.